So I'm going to speak today from a practitioner's perspective. And so my research is my experience, my day-to-day experience working in organizations. And I've worked in nonprofit organizations, corporate organizations, and educational contexts as well. So from all of that, I bring to the stage today and to share with you some of my perspectives, some of my wisdom, but also some stories about some practices that we have in my current organization, HopeLab, that I hope will be a little bit unique and might inspire you to think about your own workplaces maybe a little differently. So I like to think about the workplace as soil, as earth. And if you think about workplaces as soil or earth, you can think about that earth being rich and full of nutrients, verdant, and really nourishing. That's what my best hope is for workplaces, to be that kind of soil. But I think we also know that this soil can also be the opposite sometimes. It can feel a little depleted, undernourished, drained, and lacking in enrichment and lacking in nourishments as well. And so for me, things like gratitude and other practices like compassion, forgiveness, love, caring, etc., those are all fertilizers for the soil. Those are all things that we can add to the soil to make the soil more rich and more enlivening for the people that are in our workplaces. That's what I'm really passionate about, is building workplaces that have that kind of enlivening energy, that kind of positivity. I think that workplaces hold the possibility and the promise to support the full expression of human possibility and humanness itself. And so with rich soil, I think those of us in that soil, in those workplaces, have such greater possibility to be our best selves and our full selves. And so again, that's what I passionately believe in, and that's what I hope to inspire you with today. So of all the fertilizers for the soil, I think gratitude is a core practice, a core fertilizer, a core nutrient. It's very life-giving, and I think it's core to being human. So, and yet, given that aspirations, we know from some research from the John Templeton Foundation done last year with 2,000 Americans, that people are less likely to feel or express gratitude at work than any other place in their lives. And I find that incredibly sad. For those of us who are in the workforce, we spend so much of our time at work or in the office. And to know that most people don't experience gratitude in that setting where they spend all of that time, I think is just really, really unfortunate and very sad. Most people feel better when they thank someone at work. This is again from the John Templeton research. But surprisingly, only a small number of people actually practice this and do it regularly. Again, a very sad statistic. We also know that people are eager to be thanked and appreciated, and particularly by their bosses. There's a lot of evidence that shows that the relationship one has with their supervisor is really key, really primary to how one experiences the workplace. So you have a bad relationship with your supervisor, you're likely to have a bad experience at work. You're likely to feel less alive, less enlivened, and less nourished. Again, that's very sad. So given that situation, given those statistics, the question is, how do we begin to cultivate gratitude in the workplace? So how do we begin to nourish that soil and build in those nutrients of grace and joy and love that we heard about this morning into this soil to allow our seedlings, our employees to flourish and to thrive? So what I'd like to do is show you some things that we've done at HopeLab that I think are fun, easy actually, and maybe a little unique that you might be able to replicate in your own workplaces or just be inspired by in a way that when you go back to your own workplaces, you might have some new ideas and thoughts for cultivating gratitude yourselves. So first of all, a duckling waddles before it feathers and flies. Try, fail, learn, and grow. So this is a haiku that was written by one of my colleagues who supervises an employee who was having a tough week. And he was a new employee, relatively new. He was having some self-doubts. And the supervisor saw this, noticed this, paid attention to this, and wrote this haiku for the employee. He was so profoundly impacted by this, he taped it to his cubicle. It's been hanging there for 2 months. But that small act of gratitude made a tremendous impact on this individual. And so given what we know about the supervisory relationship being really key and really core, small practices like this can make a huge difference between that particular connection and helping that employee feel all the more alive and nourished in the workplace. At HopeLab, we also do something unique. We actually did away with the traditional performance management process and system. We instead rely on regular, ongoing conversations between the employee and the supervisor as an opportunity to express feedback and caring and gratitude. But we also have done away with the annual performance review, where people get scored, where they get their merit pay or increased or get evaluated. And what we do instead So what we do instead is a process that I think is really ripe for gratitude. We have created an annual conversation, which is basically seeded with a set of about 12 questions that help the employee reflect really deeply about what brings them joy at work, what have they done that they feel really proud about, how do they feel about our community, what are they looking forward to in the future? What do they appreciate? What am I doing as your boss that I should keep doing to support you and to nourish you? And so as a practice, the annual conversation has become something that our employees actually look forward to than how most employees view the performance evaluation yearly, which is usually with the dread. And so that's just, again, another practice that I think supports and creates the soil in the workplace that allows for an opportunity for more nourishment in the workplace. It's a beautiful practice. Thank you cards. Sure, maybe a little bit of a no-brainer, but we've actually thought about these thank you cards a little bit differently. So what you'll see on these are actually some of our organizational values. And so for us, there's this interesting opportunity to think about how do we express appreciation for employees and what their contributions are to the organization, but thinking about that in a context not of our organizational values and how they're aligned with that employee's values. So it's a really purposeful thank you, a deeply purposeful thank you, where the employee feels like, gosh, I'm receiving thanks here, but it's a special thanks because it aligns with a sense of purpose and genuineness that just goes above and beyond a regular thank you card. Another example, which I think speaks to the sort of creative idea of really paying attention to the individual that's receiving the gratitude. My colleague Fred reached a particular milestone that was quite wonderful. We collected adjectives about him from all of his colleagues and vendors, and then worked with an artist to create this box of blocks that basically allows him to play with them and create words that all describe how he is genius at what he does, which is a project manager. So again, by paying attention and noticing people, you can come up with these extraordinary expressions of gratitude that are highly creative, but highly individualized, and leave, again, a tremendous impact on that person. For our new employees, this is not quite hazing, but we have them at our staff meetings introduce themselves and talk about what it is that excited them about coming to work for our organization, and what it is that they're looking forward to, and how we can support them in their first few months on the job. So I actually think oftentimes beginnings can be overlooked as an opportunity to express appreciation, but we actually think about beginnings quite intentionally. We express gratitude in the interview process. We express gratitude in the offer letter. We express a lot of gratitude in those first few weeks that the employee's on the job. But we find that kind of gratitude, when it's expressed, allows that employee to feel immediately welcome and a part of the community. And there's no sense of like a high need to sort of prove themselves. They're here, they know we love them, and they feel a different sense of being able to contribute quickly in kind of a lesser pressured way. It's wonderful. Debriefs, maybe another no-brainer, but I'm actually surprised at how often this doesn't happen in organizations. A meeting where you get together after reaching a milestone and really pause and take time to think about what is it that we just accomplished, and really stop and think about how wonderful that is, to appreciate that moment, and to also appreciate each other and what each person's individual contributions were to reaching that goal is, again, it's often overlooked, but it is such a powerful opportunity in organizations that easily can happen again and again and again. Check-ins are another wonderful opportunity. At HopeLab, we're kind of the check-in kings and queens. We find that pausing at the beginning of meetings and taking a moment to really think about what we are here to accomplish together, how we appreciate each other in this meeting, how we want to collaborate together to accomplish what we need to in that hour or 2 hours or that day is just a really important opportunity to get grounded and also an opportunity to express appreciation and gratitude for each other. And then my last example is endings. So beginnings are important, but we also find that endings are as well. The young man in the blue shirt left us. He's actually laid off, so it was not necessarily a situation that he is happy about. But we chose to celebrate him because he was beloved by us. And we knew that he loved Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller. And so a colleague of his organized a flash mob. We practiced at lunchtime and then surprised him with this flash mob in our courtyard, which completely delighted him. He joined in and danced with us. It was an amazing opportunity for us to physically demonstrate to him how much he cared to us, and a really unique way to express that gratitude. Again, it had a huge impact on him. What he reflected back to us was that he really felt seen, and he really felt that he mattered, and that brought him to tears. I mean, he was really moved by that. So just to sum up, as I think about my various experiences with gratitude in the workplace, I just think it's important to pay attention to the fact that it is a practice and that it's something that needs to be practiced regularly and sustained. It's important to be mindful, as was mentioned before, about how you practice. Practicing authentically is clearly very, very important. And the practice can actually be very small things that done regularly just become habitual and then become a part of your organization's culture. Again, I think it comes from the heart. Authentic gratitude is really a genuine expression of caring and a beautiful expression of caring. Those small practices, those ordinary practices, are also just moments of positivity. And I think, as we know from research, that those small moments of positivity have great benefits for our psychology, but also for our biology. And again, those done regularly and done by a lot of people can kind of spiral and create this wonderful upward spiral of not just gratitude, but compassion and joy and all other kinds of things in the organization. It also takes generosity, and again, practicing gratitude with this kind of depth and genuineness is an act of intimacy. So it can feel vulnerable, and for that reason, sometimes people are a little nervous to do it or to express it. But for us, I mean, that's where it's the most meaningful. That's where it has the most impact. If you can get below the water, as Terry describes, to that bottom layer of the iceberg. And if you go there and if you express gratitude, at that level, you have tremendous impact and great connection. So I'll end with a quote from Maya Angelou that I just find particularly poignant as I speak about this. But as we go about our practices of gratitude, in the end, it may not be what we do or say, but it's how we make people feel. And so in the workplace, I think if we can make people feel alive and enriched and full of grace and joy and love, we've done a good job and enriched the workplace soil. Thank you.